Hello and welcome to Ralph and Jeff's Drunk Drawer Theology, podcast number 8. Can you believe that, Jeff?
Episode number 8.
Episode number 8. I can't believe we've gotten there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, I'm excited about excited about meeting here and getting together and discussing the Westminster Shorter Catechism. You'll see behind us we have the new banner. That my daughter Susanna, with the assistance of my daughter Carolyn, created. Beautifully done. You've got the junk drawer, you've got masking tape, and then you've got the paper bag and our pictures.
That's it.
And junk drawer theology. There you go. It's a nice backdrop.
It's nice to be in your home.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to have you up here. Usually we have recorded the podcast episodes in Ralph's home in Center City. We're up here now in East Norriton, which is 25 miles from Center City, from 10th Presbyterian Church.
Yes, that's
on
right.
17th and Spruce, the historical.
So we're changing things
10th
up a bit,
Presbyterian
just
Church.
to throw people off.
Yep, we got a fireplace behind us as well. I was already telling Ralph that at Christmas time this year, later in December, we should plan to have at least one episode or more with a fire in the fireplace below the banner, and make it a comfy, cozy few episodes, right?
Absolutely, it'd be nice. I love Christmas too, but we're in the spring now.
We are,
and
the weather is finally turning more or less normal.
It's getting normal.
That Arctic blast, I've acclimated, brother. I've acclimated to this neck of the woods. I've been here 29 years, and I've gotten used to the mild, compared to upstate New York and New England, milder temperatures.
Do you know which question we're up to? Can you guess?
This is episode 8, so it's question 7.
Very good. And I will read the question and answer, and then you can fill in the blanks.
Okay.
In all of our minds, or in some of our minds,
including mine.
we're counting on you to be full.
Okay.
Your brain.
All right. Gotcha.
You got a good brain for this. So, question 7 from the Westminster Shorter Catechism: what are the decrees of God? And the answer is, the decrees of God are His eternal purpose, according to the counsel of His will, whereby, for His own glory, He hath foreordained whatsoever comes to pass. Wow, that's some rich Bible teaching right there.
Yeah, very much so.
When do you think about decrees? What comes to your mind primarily?
I just taught on this subject this week twice, because it's for the first time in my teaching career or calling vocation. I'm teaching the same course for 2 different seminaries in 2 different parts of the world. One's a 16-week class and one's an 8-week class. So but it's the same material, but simplified for the shorter class time. But I taught on this topic just this past week twice. So the decrees, and there's this discussion about, is it a decree or decrees? And the answer is yes. You can think of it as one decree, because God is one, He's simple. And yet when it unfolds in history, when it falls out, we sometimes say, or unpacks itself, it appears as though there are multiple aspects to the decree, which is God's plan in advance. And this is why we're now all along there have been errors and heresies, etc., that have been marked off as out of bounds in the catechism, right? For instance, we're Trinitarian, we're not Unitarian. No. God is 1 and 3. So now we think of the decrees of God would be the decree to create, the decree to preserve, the decree to allow the fall, the decree to save a people for himself, and the decree, of course, to send his son. And then, of course, ultimately the decree for all of the church to be gathered up with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in the new heavens and the new earth, along with the angels, right? This as we see recorded in the book of Revelation. So the whole sweep of both universal history and redemptive history. By universal history, I mean what we would often refer to as secular history. The history that outside of the Bible. Like, there's no reference to China in the Bible, right? Or Japan, places, or the United States, right? Or Europe. Well, there are references to what we now Europe. Call Europe.
Yeah.
In the book of Acts with the travels of the Apostle Paul. So the decrees of God, of course, as the answer to the question says, they're the eternal purpose.
Yeah, his eternal purpose.
Yes, and so, of course, this is drawing upon Ephesians chapter 1. The almost verbatim, his eternal purpose according to the counsel of his own will.
Yeah.
Whereby for his own glory he foreordains whatsoever comes to pass.
Very good.
So
yeah.
So these.
Can you unpack that?
Yeah. So
first of all,
he foreordained.
His eternal purpose.
Yeah, the eternal purpose is that God has determined in advance what He intended to happen in creation and providence and salvation history. In other words, what we see recorded in the Bible, the calling of Abraham, or before that Noah and his wife and his sons and their wives, and 2 of every animal and 7 of every animal for sacrificial purposes, I'm thinking. And then you have Abraham. Then you have the Moses and the children. Well, you have Abraham, and you have the patriarchal era, right?
Yeah.
And then you end up
with 12 tribes.
with Joseph.
12 tribes of Israel, I mean.
Right, Joseph, and then Moses. After the children of Israel are in Egypt for 400 years, which had been prophesied by God to Abraham in Genesis chapter 15. The reason why God can tell us what's going to happen in the future is He's already determined it's going to happen. Now, He works through secondary causes. So something can be necessary on the divine level and contingent on the human level. Those are not contradictory. What we're simply saying is that God, the way God works, He's able to get to His destination even if it goes by a circuitous route, zigzag, right? Because He's able to do that. And He's not responding He's not responding in an ad hoc manner or by the seat of His pants. He knows,
like we might try to do.
Well, we do all the time because we don't have foreknowledge. So He foreordained whatsoever comes to pass. That means everything.
Yeah.
Right? So everything that is not God falls under His sovereign will.
And I think it's good to point that out too. Like when we're talking about the decrees of God, you can't help but think of God's sovereignty. God is sovereign.
What I meant to say, and thank you for getting me back on track. This is, of course, where we get into one of our what the Reformed or Calvinistic churches are best known for, which is predestination. Right?
Yes.
So this is the broader category of which predestination is a part. That is God's sovereignty, God's eternal purpose, God's foreordination. To foreordain, to ordain is to choose or to determine. To foreordain is to choose or determine beforehand, that is, before it happens. Now, on a creaturely level, we do that. We make plans, right?
Yeah.
And we attempt to execute those plans, right? So
Correct.
There's a sense in which we can understand what's being said here because we have a finite grasp of the idea of planning beforehand. To give you a further biblical example, in the Gospel of John, Jesus is constantly talking about the Father having sent him. He is sent to do the Father's will. Well, to be sent is to execute a plan.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, I think, when you talk about secondary causes, we know that it's true. Like, we're involved somehow in things, but I'm not sure I can't. It's like a tension, almost like, okay, God's sovereign over everything, but then I have to live my life every day. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna.
We are responsible.
Make plans. Yeah, made plans to come here. There's no guarantee that I would have made it, but thankfully I made it. So it's
and of course the scriptures talk about that man plans, but it is God who brings them the plans into reality.
Yes.
So he foreordains whatsoever. The counsel of his own.
That's what I was about to ask you.
According to the counsel of his own will.
According to the counsel of his own
will.
will.
Well, that's saying the same thing in two different ways. They're relatively synonymous.
How do we unpack? So it's similar or the same. According to the counsel of his will, can you
see both of those expressions are found in Ephesians chapter 1.
Yeah.
So eternal purpose and the counsel of his own will.
This
that's
question,
telling us
this question and answer comes right out of Ephesians 1, right? So
correct.
Obviously,
so this is telling us that God has he knows things and he desires things. In other words, he has a will. So he determines. There are things that God could do that he doesn't do. There are things that it would be possible to do that he chooses not to do, right? So that once he chooses a course of action, that action flows. What happens flows out of the decision. For instance, once God chooses to save a people from the host of fallen human beings, men, women, boys, and girls, he chooses to save. So how does he save? So he's committed to saving a people. Everybody?
No.
A portion.
Yes.
Right.
A portion, yes.
So how does he do it? So you see, there are certain things.
Remnant.
Right. See, there are things that follow, so there's a necessary aspect, and then there's a contingent aspect.
Yeah.
By contingent, we mean what appears to be dependent upon a previous decision, right? So the counsel of his own will means that it's not arbitrary in the most basic sense. It's thought out. So God is not stupid, nor can he be. The extremes would be to reduce God to a brain or a willpower, or emotions by themselves. Now, I don't believe God has emotions. It doesn't mean he's not loving or kind. But emotions, I think, are dependent upon having a human body or having a corporal body.
Interesting.
Because we call them feelings.
Now, can we move on to?
No, I want to stay right where we've been.
For his own glory. For his own. No, you're going through this.
Yes.
Fine.
So
eternal purpose. Talked about that. According to the counsel of his will.
For his own glory.
And really, the best thing to do is encourage someone to read Ephesians 1.
Correct.
And then maybe the first 10 verses of 2, where
Correct.
talks
Oh
about-
yeah, of
yeah.
course. It's hard to say that. At least I find it hard to say. Only read this. Well, of course,
not. Yeah.
It's a free country, so you can read before and you should, for context's sake, right? Read before and
I
after.
mean, read Romans chapter 8, 28 to 39 too. They kind of go together.
There's a lot throughout the whole of including the Gospel of John, which I've already referenced. The doctrine, this doctrine is on every page. I remember the first time.
In particular, chapter 1 and 6, very strong.
I remember after the first time I read the Gospel of John after becoming Reformed, and I remember seeing election or predestination all over it, and I was thinking, I've read this before, but I hadn't seen it quite as clearly as I did on that first time of reading through the Gospel of John after becoming Reformed. And so that this is a thoroughly. It's not just Paul, John. I would say, and remember that human responsibility and divine sovereignty go together. Although, of course, divine sovereignty will always trump. God is a necessary being. We are contingent beings or dependent beings, right?
Yeah.
So, it's for His own glory, and the scriptures, throughout the scriptures, you will find affirmations that what God does, He does for the glorious tribute of Himself.
And even in John, I think, and other books of the other three Gospels,
John 17, which I made reference to already, Jesus said, "Glorify me, Father, glorify me with the glory that I had before the creation of the world."
I meant to say that wasn't Jesus trying to glorify God,
the Father, by his holy life, his obedience to the Father's will. He says, "To do the Father's will is my meat and drink." Right? He said that he didn't come to do his own will, but to do the will of his Father who sent him. Again, a reference back to there being an eternal purpose.
I did temporarily get a blank thought there, but
don't feel bad, brother.
You rescued me. That was good.
Being on this point, Jonathan Edwards, the New England pastor theologian, wrote a book called "The End for Which God Created the World," which is on this very subject, and he gathers together biblical and logical support for the idea that God has created the universe for His own glory. Now, if we did that, if we did things for our own glory, we would be rightly criticized as being egocentric, right?
And we're sinful, so
right. Well,
that's part of it.
However, the reason why it's sinful for us is because we're not God.
Yeah.
It's not that it's sinful in itself. God does it.
And only God can be God.
That's right. Only God can do things for His own glory, because he doesn't answer to a higher authority. We do.
Yeah.
Right?
So, moving on a little bit here, we've gotten through most of this, and you've already talked a little bit about, I would say He has foreordained whatsoever comes to pass. Did you want to say anything else about that?
Well, I mean, that's just a filling out of, the picture. In other words, we've talked about the eternal purpose according to the counsel of His own will. So, that necessitates logically that whatever happens according to the plan that has existed from all eternity. Right? God Himself does not change, but God's relations to us do change.
That's right.
So that's why we say that God is immutable or unchangeable. That's what we're saying. Despite what others might say that God changes like we do. Well, no, He doesn't. But that's another whole conversation. But anyways, all of this. So whatever comes to pass, which is whatever comes to pass, everything that happens according to His will, his eternal plan. Does that mean that you and I can in advance know everything? Absolutely not. The scriptures give us the overall picture, and we know the beginning, the middle, and the end, but we don't know every last detail in terms of the filling out of the details. We're told why God created. We're told that he has sent his Son to save those who would believe in his name. We are told that God has chosen those who would believe in his name from before the foundations of the universe. Mm-hmm. But in terms of our daily life, we're given enough to do and to think about in God's Word to really keep us busy.
Absolutely.
For the rest of our lives until either we go to be with the Lord or the Lord comes and takes us back to be with him in the new heavens and the new earth.
And we can continue the conversation as we get through some more questions. I think we've come to the end of our time today on this episode. Hear the music.
I do.
So glad you were able to join us today, and look for future episodes. And hope you like our new banner. Bye, everyone.
Take care. God bless.